Good morning, people. Brandon Owsley, back. First video of 2016, and God, first of all, Happy New Year's to everyone. Didn't get a chance to do a new video for the New Year's. You know, there's so much that's going on, and it's really unfortunate that I have to do this video to bring you all unfortunate news. I'm sure many of you have heard, but founder and band leader of Earth, Wind & Fire, Maurice White, has passed. Wow, and the long line of musicians and legends who have already transcended, you know, early in the year. You know, we've lost Maurice, and I'm stunned. This morning today is February 5th, 2016. He passed away yesterday, Thursday, February 4th, 2016. At 74. I mean, it's man, timeless legacy. He played a major influence on me musically. Not an artist, not a musician, but he really helped me understand music appreciation and just the different backgrounds of music in general. And you know, he's touched so many people's lives. I mean, he introduced so many things to the world in music, and not only music, but just his humbleness, his grace, his humility. I mean, there's never going to be another one like him. What I Have by Earth, Wind & Fire, I mean, man's music, the man's legacy is just timeless. Even what I have, I don't even think I even scratched the surface, because he was a perfectionist. He was truly a perfectionist. I mean, producer, songwriter, arranger, master, musician, you know, student, teacher. I mean, he will be missed, and I just want to showcase a little what I have. I have, and I don't have all of them on vinyl. I don't even have all of them on compact discs. There are some holes, but man, I just want to showcase this. This is an early album from Earth, Wind & Fire. Name of it is Head to the Sky. Okay, 1973, Columbia. This was their, I think this was their fourth release. Yeah, this was one of the first albums on Columbia. Great album, great early work. You know, this is gatefold, of course, with Maurice in the middle. Miss Jessica Cleaves. I'm sorry for the glare, but I'm trying to keep this leveled because I can't really see. But yeah, Jessica Cleaves, who was one of the vocalists of the band, and Philip was in this band at this time as well. So yeah, this was one of their first albums, Head to the Sky, 1973. The next album was that I have of theirs on vinyl, one of their biggest albums, of course. Gotta have That's the Way of the World, 1975. Okay, Maurice in the middle. Ooh. Oh, here he is, right here. Okay. Yeah, this is a timeless album. Timeless work. Charles Stepney, who deserves a lot of credit for a lot of their key period albums on Columbia. He was a producer, songwriter, arranger. He worked on a lot of stuff with Minnie Riperton, Rotary Connection, and actually Maurice White played on a lot of their albums as well. but some of that stuff is uncredited. You know, they don't have his name in the album credits, but he played on a lot of the cadet era, you know, recordings, and you know, he collaborated with them on this. The album before that was Open Our Eyes, but I'm going to get to that in a minute when I get to the compact disc. But yeah, this is one of the albums I have on vinyl. That's the Way of the World. It's surprising. Many people forget that this is the soundtrack. This is actually a soundtrack to the movie of the same name. That's the Way of the World. I think Harvey Keitel, if I'm saying his name right, was in that movie, and Earth, Wind and Fire was in that movie. They had like a small cameo role. They were they portrayed a band that were, you know, trying to get a big break, and Harvey portrayed a record promoter, well, a record producer, and he was trying to get them, you know, on the road and to record and everything. So, you know, it was a campy movie, but of course the soundtrack took on a place of its own. That's the Way of the World. We should all know this. Probably their most popular, revered recording, one of them. Next album I want to get into is another one of their more revered albums. This is Gratitude from 1975. You can, as you can tell, still in its, you know, still sealed, hasn't been broken into. I actually have another copy of this somewhere, but I just pulled this one out. Yeah, new condition. From 1975, came out a couple of months after That's the Way of the World. Of course, Columbia wanted to capitalize on the success of that particular release, and so they, you know, they thought it would be a good idea to release a live album, and it became one of their most cherished albums. A great album, great, excellent album. Next album is Spirit. Came out a year after, 1976. Man, I mean, they had some beautiful album covers, didn't they? The pyramids, the references to Egypt, important. Okay, yeah, this has some great songs. Getaway, of course, On Your Face, Imagination, Spirit, Saturday Night, Earth, Wind, Fire, Departure, Bio, and Burning Bush. This is an essential album. And the story behind this, I want to give just a brief tidbit on this. Actually, this album was recorded right, I believe, was right at the time Charles Stepney died. So Charles Stepney died in 1976 while they were recording this album, and I mean, he was working on a lot of stuff. I mean, he was a prolific producer. Like I said, he was the commander of Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, he taught Maurice White a lot of things, you know, before Maurice took over, you know, really took over the band, you know, from this album on. But this is a, you know, a remarkable album, and I would say this is really a tribute. This is their tribute to Charles Stepney in a lot of ways. Yeah, this is one of Charles Stepney's last productions, you know, with the group. And overall, you know, he was just a magnificent producer. Next one I pulled is not actually an Earth, Wind and Fire album, but this is one of Maurice White's finest productions. It's just a great album, a great lady of song. You know, Denise Williams came out the same year as Spirit. This is Denise Williams. This is Nisi. If you all can see that, I'm trying to keep this because I can't fit this in the full frame. But yeah, this is Denise Williams. This is Nisi, 1976. Beautiful, beautiful. This is the album that had Free on it. That's what friends are for, 'cause you love me, baby. This, yeah, this was produced by Maurice White and Charles Stepney. So it came out the same year as Spirit. Big time, big album. This was actually her debut album. She sang backgrounds for Stevie Wonder's Wonderlove band, and she was just trying to get her big break. And they, she cut a demo. Maurice wanted her. Maurice took an interest, and the rest is history. Another one that I pulled, next album in the bunch, next Earth, Wind & Fire. This to me is their peak. This is their pinnacle. This is their masterpiece. Of course, you gotta have All in All. Earth, Wind & Fire, 1977. Okay, follow up to the Spirit album. Just look at this artwork. This is just magnificent. Beautiful gatefold. Spiritual references with the references to Egypt, Africa. I mean, this is really the pinnacle of great black music. Just classic work. Some of the songs: Serpentine Fire, Fantasy, Would You Mind? Not Would You Mind? That's actually the name of that song is Love's Holiday. Sorry. That same year, Maurice White worked with the Emotions for their one of their albums. I don't have Flowers or Sunbeam, but this is their most popular album. This is the Emotions Rejoice. This is probably their biggest album. Best of My Love, Key to My Heart, Don't Ask My Neighbors. Just timeless album, timeless work. George Massenburg engineered a lot of their best work. A lot of the Maurice produced work. I mean, he engineered the Earth, Wind & Fire, a lot of that stuff. I mean, this is just great music. Next album that I pulled, that I have, is Earth, Wind & Fire's I Am, which came out in 1979. Yeah, this is the I Am album. Successful. I mean, just a big album. This is, I mean, for me, these albums are just time. I mean, from this run, Earth, Wind & Fire just had one of the greatest album runs in popular music. I think, just look at this. Great gatefold of the band. It looks like it's illustrated. Yeah, just great artwork as always. I mean, just the imagery. That's just great. Just great. This is a great album. The one thing about this album, I Am, that you'll notice right away is that it was more polished. It was more. It wasn't cut from a funk. The traditional hard edge funk jazz style, that they were known for by that time. They were working with David Foster, who is a songwriter, popular songwriter, and Maurice thought it would be a good idea to, work with him, collaborate with them. It caused a little bit of friction in the group, as you can imagine, but it, After the Love Is Gone, Can't Let Go, Boogie Wonderland, which was, amazingly, it was written, that was not written by either Maurice or David Foster. Yeah, just a great album, And the last album that I have on vinyl is, of course, an album that came a year after that, 1980's Faces. Sorry for the glare, people. Faces. brothers just smiling. The Pyramid. I mean, this is a great album. Great album. This is one of my favorites. A lot of people slept on this one. This is to me, this is one of their best albums. Yeah. Song in My Heart, Take It to the Sky, Share Your Love, Turn It Into Something Good, Let Me Talk, Back on the Road, Win or Lose, You Want Away. Yeah, a lot of these. This is great. This is Earth, Wind & Fire from 1971. This is their first album, debut album, on Warner Brothers before they went to Columbia. So this is before Philip Bailey and the rest of the clan. Maurice wanted to utilize a lot of jazz musicians for this band. A singer by the name of Sherry Scott sang alongside Maurice White in this band. Of course, Verdine White was in this band. Ronnie Laws, I believe, worked closely with this incarnation of Earth, Wind & Fire, because before they became the Earth, Wind & Fire that we know and love today. Yeah, this album has been sampled by a lot of hip-hop luminaries. A lot of, I mean, this album has been sampled relentlessly, and Help Somebody, Moment of Truth, Love Is Life, Fan the Fire, Come On Children. Great album. In that same year, they recorded Need of Love. I don't have that in my collection, of course. That was their second album on Warner Brothers before they left for Columbia. Just to note something, the first two Warner Brothers albums, they weren't commercial successes, but they were artistic touchstones. They were artistic milestones for that group. None of them spawned big hits, but they are really worth a listen. So I'm just to, you know, put that out there. Album that came after Need of Love, 1971, was 1972's Last Days in Time. Okay, this was their first album on Columbia CBS Records. This was the introduction of Philip Bailey in the group, and Jessica Cleaves, who was the singer, one of the singers of the group. She passed away actually 2 years ago. Jessica Cleaves sang alongside Philip Bailey and Maurice White. She was the female singer of the group. There was a female. Her name was Jessica Cleaves, and the one that was before Jessica Cleaves was Sherry Scott, just to make that known. This is a great album. Again, a great early Earth, Wind & Fire album. You can tell here where their sound just hasn't been refined yet, but the music is so rich, so adventurous. It's still like a gumbo of jazz, funk, fusion, just great stuff. Well, the most memorable song here was Power, which is a 8-minute jazz funk monster. It's an instrumental. Next album is Head to the Sky. Again, I mentioned this album already. I have this on vinyl. This is the CD, 1973. Second album on Columbia, if you can see it. Great work, just great work. I love this album. This is has Keep Your Head to the Sky, Evil, Clover, The World's a Masquerade, Build Your Nest, and Zanzibar. A lot of people sleep on these early albums. They believe that the band's career started with That's the Way in the World, and that's not the case at all. 1974's Open Our Eyes, which was the first albums Charles Stepney worked on with them. He was the associate producer. Joe Wissert was one of the producers, and of course Maurice White. Great album, great album. Okay. I have a couple of copies of That's the Way of the World. This is the, of course, this is the original master recording of That's the Way in the World, 1975. I just talked about this. And this is the remaster from 1999. Gratitude came out that same year, later on that same year, December of 1975. Spirit, 1976. Let me show the original. This is the original version of All in All. It came out in the 90s. Okay. This is All in All, the remaster of All in All with the bonus tracks. So the next album that came after All in All was I Am, 1979, major album. This is the remaster. Faces from 1980. Raise. Okay, 1981. The hits Let's Groove, Lady's Son, My Love, Wanna Be With You. Yeah, this is a great album. It just took me a long time to really get into this album because I'm not a big fan of the 80s period Earth, Wind & Fire. I'm not the biggest fan. I think Faces was really part of the classic period, which started in 1972, from 1972 to 1980. So I really associate Faces with, you know, that run of albums. But you know, this album really has grown on me a lot. Again, there's some holes, so I don't have Power Light and Electric Universe. Don't have those albums, unfortunately. So after Electric Universe, they came back. They took a 4-year hiatus, and they came back with Touch the World, 1987. Some of the songs on here, Thinking of You, System of Survival. The album that came after Touch the World was Heritage. I don't have Heritage, and I don't have the album that came after Heritage, Millennium. So pick it back up with 1997 with In the Name of Love. There was actually another cover. This is the reissue of that album. The original cover art should be somewhere in this video, but this is the reissue of the 1997 album In the Name of Love. Great album. A lot of these later period albums I slept on. They're still, you know, Maurice White's touch on these albums were great. The album that came after that was The Promise, 2003. Great album. A lot of good songs. Quality. All in the Way, Betcha, Why, Where Do We Go From Here. Again, they're not, these albums are not what you would consider to, you know, be the traditional Earth, Wind & Fire albums. They more or less sound like smooth jazz, modern, well, I don't want to say modern, but they have a more contemporary approach to them, but they still have some of those distinctive Earth, Wind & Fire approaches to them, Maurice White approach to them. So I just want to make that clear. You know, they are worth, and you know, worth a listen. Illumination is one of them. There's another one of them. This came out in 2005. I think this was the last album Maurice White had vocals on. This came out in 2005. This was a decent. This was a good album. I mean, for me, I mean, some of the guest stars were Big Boy, Kelly Rowland, Sleepy Brown, Brian McKnight, Kenny G. This was a good album. Mainstream, commercial. You know, it saw them, you know, trying to cater to a more wider, young audience. But this, you know, it was a good album. And their latest album was Now, Then, and Forever, 2013. Okay. They also released a Christmas album 2014. And I don't do Christmas albums that much. So yeah, I mean, that's just a nutshell what I have from Earth, Wind, and Fire. Now I just want to get into some of Maurice's production work. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with Rotary Connection. I already mentioned Rotary Connection. Maurice White was just a master drummer. I mean, I think his work as a drummer, as a percussionist, is just underrated. Rotary Connection was the group that featured young Minnie Riperton before Minnie Riperton became a solo artist. She worked with this group. Rotary Connection is the real deal. They were experimental, not just a soul band. They weren't really soul. They were very experimental, but they had a lot of funk approach to them. They had a soul approach to them, a rock approach, a strong rock influence to them. They could do it all. Charles Stepney was just a genius. Again, Charles Stepney was a genius. This is Minnie Riperton's "Come to My Garden," which, you know, Maurice White, once again, I wish I had the vinyl for this. He did some work on this as well, some drum percussion work on this album. Charles Stepney produced this. This is, to me, Minnie Riperton's best work. Now I want to get into the key period stuff that he produced. I don't have a lot at all. You know, some of this stuff I have digitally, but I do have Ramsey Lewis. Ramsey Lewis played a major role in Maurice White's entire approach. I mean, they worked together on a lot of stuff. Actually, Maurice White worked a lot with Ramsey Lewis. He was part of the Ramsey Lewis trio. This is Ramsey Lewis's 1974 album, Sun Goddess. Yeah, Ramsey Lewis. You can't talk about Maurice White and not talk about Ramsey Lewis. Come on. And again, I just mentioned this album, The Emotions, Rejoice. This is Denise Williams. This is Nisi from 1976 CD. Great production work. Earth, Wind, Fire is all on these albums. In 1992, El DeBarge worked with Maurice White on his 1992 release, In the Storm. It has a strong Marvin Gaye influence. Again, it's worth checking out. Some good songs on here. You Know What I Like. My Heart Belongs to You. He does a cover of Marvin's After Dance, of course. I mean, there are just a lot of great stuff on here. Maurice White produced this. Okay, this is from 1992. Yeah. Foreplay is on here too, the jazz band Foreplay. It's a good album. And, you know, that's just I pulled, of course, a compilation I had. I used to have, by the way, this is the Essential Earth, Wind, and Fire from 2002. I used to have the Internal Dance, which was a box set. I don't know where it is. Had a lot of the rare stuff, some demos, some alternate takes of songs. I don't know where it is. You know, when my mother was growing up, these albums were influential to the black community, to black music. You know, and I mean that says something. You know, to have your music touch just the fiber of humanity. You know, I can give you songs, you know, Shining Star, Reasons, you know, but he was so much more. I mean, the man's music, as a, you know, again, I've shown what I've shown, but there's, you know, I think in the, of course, next couple of weeks, you know, I'm sure Sony, Columbia, they're going to be capitalizing on the man's music, you know, music industry. They're going to be pouring in with tributes and everything. They're pouring in tributes today. The man will be greatly missed. The man and the legacy and his work will be missed. His mission, his vision. Maurice White was a visionary. You don't get too many of those in today's music. Don't get too many visionaries. Don't get too many master musicians, instrumentalists, and a great singer. He had a great voice. You know, it's been said by some people that, you know, in the beginning he wasn't all that fond of his voice when he started out. You know, he just wanted to play. Earth, Wind, and Fire alone will outlive us. Their music, music like that, that's timeless as that, will outlive us. Okay, so you know, I just wanted to get on here and do this video, and thank you all for watching. I don't know when this will be uploaded, but thank you. See you later. Bye bye.